Okay, all right, this is the Lifepak 15. Just go through the basic functions. So obviously we check it every day. One of the things we first do is to turn it up, the little green button up there. We turn that on, make sure that it's functioning okay. Okay, we have a look and we can see at the top of the screen we have the two batteries and that they're full. They're both full. The batteries sit behind here and the back there, they just snap in there. And we also have two spare batteries which we've checked, which is in the glove box over there. Okay, so we've got two full batteries and it's set at 200 joules. Okay, so some of the features then on the Lifepak 15 is the various functions that we have here. We can defibrillate with it. We can do 3 lead, we can do 4 lead, we can do 5 lead, and we can do 12 lead ECGs. And we'll go and check the leads in a second. We have the defibrillation pads over here, which we'll go through in a second as well. I might as well go through those at the moment. So we have 2 adult defib pads there. We check to make sure that they're in date. So this one's in date, it expires the 7th of the 6th, 7th of the 12th, 2025. So December 25. And the other one, again, the 5th of the 8th, 26. So they're all in date. The packets are undamaged. That's complete. This one looks like it's already been opened but taped over. Okay, so not sure why that is. We have the leads there, so this is where the defib pads connect into the lead. That's the connection that we have for the defib pads. And in this other pocket we just have some fairly essential items. So we have something to particularly people that might be in cardiac arrest or have chest pain, can all quite often be very clammy, very sweaty. And if we don't dry them properly, then the pads won't stick properly, and we have problems there. So we can clear their chest. We've got a razor there as well, so we can razor some hair away there just to give better adhesion. Shears to cut clothing off, and it's an alcohol swab there as well, just to clean any sort of dirt or fatty material that might be on the chest, to give better adhesion. Okay, so that's all okay in there. Over here in this pocket we have CO2 ports. Okay, so fairly handy. Probably rarely used. We can measure the end-tidal CO2 of a patient by connecting one of these devices. There's a CO2 port. If you just want to bring the camera around here, there's a CO2 port here, which the end of this connects into. The little orange part connects into that. Okay, and the other part, depending on the device, there's some nasal prongs here which we can put onto the patient, and over the top of that we can then ventilate the patient, and this measures the end-tidal CO2, and we can read on the screen, we can read what the end-tidal CO2 waveform is. Okay, so that's those. So as well as the nasal prongs, we also have an adapter form, so we can put this in between the connection of the mask and the BVM. So when we're ventilating, so that goes in the middle. And again, when the patient breathes out, exhales, it can measure the CO2 there in between ventilation. So we have 2 forms there. We have the nasal prongs, and we have the adapter that goes in between the mask and the port for the BVM. Okay, over here we have the ECG leads. Okay, I won't pull them out, but we've got various leads there, so we can do a basic 3 lead ECG if we just wanted a quick look. We could do a 4 lead, we can do a 5 lead, and we can do a 12 lead ECG, and there's extra leads in there. We've also got the NIBP, so that's automatic BP blood pressure. So we've got a cuff there, and again we've got a different size cuff here, large adult as well, and just a normal size one as well. Okay, we put that around a patient's arm, and we can then just press this NIBP button, okay, which is non-invasive BP. So when we press that button, the cuff automatically inflates and gives us a BP reading. So every now and again when I check the patient's BP, we just press that button there. Okay, we also have within here there should be an SpO2 port as well, so that can give us our oxygen saturation via the finger probe there as well. We check to make sure that we have enough printout paper, so we undo this here, okay, and there's sufficient roll there, otherwise we can replace that. So there's sufficient paper there to give us a printout. Okay. We also routinely we should do a shock test on this machine. However, we only have 1 or 2 shock devices. So prior to packing, Logistics does a shock test for us, and they put the paper result in the Lifepak for us, so we know that on the 20th of October they did a shock of 200 joules, and that was all successful. So we, that's done every time the Lifepak goes out for Logistics, and we know that the system is functioning. At the back here we have spare paper rolls that we can access if needed. You can see where the batteries go, so the 2 batteries click in here, behind here, and in here we have the electrodes, the ECG electrodes. So we have plenty of those. We've got 2 full bags of those. Okay, so back around to the front here. So we can disconnect the ECG leads, and we can then we can see what the ECG reading is. So we can look at leads 1, 2, 3, AVF, AVR, etc., depending on how many leads that we select. And we can do 12 lead ECG as well. If we want to defibrillate somebody, if we have the pads on and want to shock them, want to defibrillate them, we place the pads in the appropriate positions, and we can select the energy level. It's already preset at 200 joules, but if we want to change that, we can then increase that by pressing the up or down button, so 225 or 300 joules, but typically now we just use the 200 joules, so we can do that. Once we've selected the energy, we have the pads on, we can press the charge button. So this is for manual defibrillation, so we press the charge button. Once it's charged up, it'll signify that it's fully charged, and then we can press the shock button. And obviously we make sure that there's nobody around the patient, that everybody's standing all clear, that it's appropriate to shock. We're not on a wet environment, wet surface, nobody's in contact with the patient, there's no potential for arcing, the pads aren't too close, etc., etc. So if we're satisfied that it's safe to shock, then we can then press the shock button and we can defibrillate. And as soon as we press the shock button, we can also then charge again in preparation for a second shock. Even though we may not need it, we still charge it and have it ready for a second shot if we need a second charge. If we need to, we can always dump the charge. Okay. Over here, if we want to go into, this machine can go into an AED mode. The way we go into an AED mode is by pressing the analyze button. Press the analyze button there, and it auto analyzes and gives an indication of whether we shock or don't shock. Okay, and then we can then just manually press the shock button. Little CPR button, so it's like a metronome, which sort of gives a bit of an indication of what the compression rate should be. Other buttons there is we can select the different leads. We can go down through the leads here. We can use this little button here to scroll through various leads. That puts the lead up the top, so if we press AVL, for instance, and we press that, the AVL lead goes up to the top of the screen there. If we're looking for a particular lead, typically we might be looking at lead, most times we look at lead 2 as our general lead that we look at, and lead 2 comes up to the top over here. And we can increase the size of the ECG component by pressing that button there. The sync button there, so it's always good if we're defibrillating, if we've got someone in VF or VT, it's always a good idea to press the sync button, okay? And what that does is it makes sure that we're not defibrillating during the refractory period when the heart's resting, okay? So it just syncs, it puts a little dot on top of the QRS complexes, and it just ensures that we're syncing at the right time when we have maximum electrical activity occurring we can just, it's a good idea to always put the sync button on, and the machine will automatically only defibrillate at the top of the QRS complexes. Okay, alarms. So if we want to, we can set alarms. So we can set alarms for heart rate, etc. Blood pressure, well, heart rate mainly. So we can set a range, and if the heart rate goes above or below that range, then an alarm. Again, we have various options here as well. So we can put in patient details. We can put in date and time, etc. Alarm volume. So there's various options that we can select as well. Most times we're not really worried about it. We're dealing with one patient. We're not dealing with multiple patients. So we just make sure that at the end of when we do our ECG, that we write on there the patient's name, the details, etc., to reflect that this represents the patient that we're dealing with. Okay, so that's the various options. So they're essentially the main features that we need to worry about with the 12-lead ECG. We have the potential to transmit, but we obviously, in the Colbro situation, we don't use that, and we have to Bluetooth it with our phones. So it's not that straightforward. And we have a print option as well. So this won't automatically, it will automatically print if we defibrillate, but apart from that, if we're just running a normal ECG, it won't automatically print, so we just have to press the print button and that'll print out our ECG for us, whatever's on the screen. Okay, I think that summarises roughly the basic functions of the Lifepak 15.